Good evening and welcome to the Meet the Candidates event for candidates who are on the ballot in the town of Wilton. Before we begin tonight, I want to remind everyone to turn off all their electronic equipment. My name is Kathy Kobrick. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, and I'm a resident. I live in the town of Malta, and I'm going to be your moderator tonight. We want to thank Sudi Adirondack for arranging the use of this auditorium. And we also want to recognize the Saratoga Springs Chamber of Commerce for their support. The League is a nonpartisan, volunteer political organization dedicated to the informed and responsible participation of citizens in government. The League never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. This has been League policy for 97 years. Membership is open to anyone who is eligible to register and vote, whether male or female, so we're not just for women only. I realize that many of the people in the audience tonight may have strong partisan viewpoints. However, I will insist that the candidates and the audience treat each other with respect, and I have this to keep you in mind. I also ask the audience to hold its applause until all the candidates finish their closing statements. We have a lot to get done tonight. The job of the audience is to listen and to ask written questions. Please use the forms provided this evening and be sure to indicate your name and if you live in Wilton. Questions should take no more than 30 seconds. Most questions should be directed to all candidates. However, if a question is directed to one candidate, the other candidates may respond as well. Note that we may not have time for all of the questions. Our question vetting staff is ensuring that the questions with the most interest get asked first. They may combine some questions for efficiency and to avoid repetition. They will also make sure that questions are clear, readable, and contain no personal attacks or inappropriate language. I don't know why that keeps popping. Oh, well. Note also that we will not be accepting more questions after the opening statements of the candidates for each position. So you will be able to put some in later. Oh, we lost it.
Your voice sounds better without it.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right, I'll speak loudly. You can put some questions in between, but it has to be before the people's turn to answer questions. Candidates are not asked to distribute campaign literature, but to place it on the designated table. Candidates in the audience, remember please that this is not an event for campaigning, so we don't want hats or pins or signs or any demonstrations inside or outside the building. You look like a calm crowd, I think we'll be okay. Timers for this evening's event are in the front row. They will hold up cards for the candidates to glance at. Green means 1 minute left, yellow means 30 seconds, and red means time is up. Oh, I want to mention one thing to the candidates also, I forgot. I'm going to ask you the questions, but I'm not going to be voting for you. So don't answer me. Look out and tell the audience what you think. Tonight's events will be divided into 4 segments, with the candidates for justice going first with a brief statement at the lectern. Second will be the candidates for town council. In the 3rd segment, we will meet the candidates for highway superintendent. There will be a brief pause while the candidates for highway superintendent take their place at the table. In the 4th segment, we will meet the candidates for supervisor. Again, there will be a brief pause while the candidates come up here. Candidates, please move swiftly to take your seats, and audience, please remain seated so that the transitions take place quickly. We want to give as much time as possible to the candidates' views on the issues. On your ballot on November 7th will be 3 ballot proposals. The League of Women Voters of New York State has produced a brochure outlining these questions, giving the background and the pros and cons of each issue. Please feel free to pick up a brochure on your way out. Now we're going to get started. The candidates for the justice seat on your ballot on November 7th in alphabetical order will be Eric Rosenberg on the Democratic, Independents, Working Families, and Public Servants line, and then Gerald Wirth on the Republican and Conservative Party line. Now it is time to hear their 4-minute statements. They have drawn lots to determine the order. First, we will hear from Gerald Wirth.
First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us all here tonight. And then to tell you a little bit about myself, I've lived in Wilton, New York, on Worth Road my whole life, on the same property I was born on. So I guess this makes me a native. I'm a widower. I have 3 daughters, my oldest being Judge Town's clerk. One lives in Kentucky. One works for Saratoga Cardiology. I have 8 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. Now about the judge's position. I have been a Wilton Town judge for 39 years and 10 months. My father and mother were both judges before me, so between us, we have 70 years serving the town of Wilton. Back then, the courtrooms were in the judges' homes, which means that I have literally been hearing court cases since I was 4 years old. I learned early on the value of the court system in our community, and I am proud to have followed in the footsteps of my parents. Over the course of the years as judge, I've heard probably 90,000 traffic cases, 4,000 or 5,000 criminal cases, hundreds of civil and small claims cases, and probably have done 1,000 marriages. This experience gives me the knowledge to evaluate each case that comes before me, and then enables me to apply the law in an equitable manner. We have the 2nd largest court in Saratoga County. We take in about $700,000 a year, and about 1/3 of that comes back to the town. Over the course of my 40 years, the Wilton Court has handled somewhere between $20 and $25 million. The court is audited every year, and we've never had a bad audit. Thanks maybe to our great staff of clerks. We have a real stringent rules that judges have to live by. I've also provided over arraignments and preliminary hearings for 3 murder cases, 2 in Wilton and 1 in the town of Northumberland. When you first become judge, it's mandatory to receive judicial certification. I attended both standard and advanced classes for which I have received certification from Albany Law School. Then I have taken over 480 hours of additional classroom training and received certification for these studies. I recently received an award from the Wilton Historical Society for my 40 years of support for their annual Apple Pie Social. This position is 7 days a week, 24 hours per day. I consider myself a fair judge because all judges are in the fairness business. Plus, I enjoy what I do. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.